Hi everyone, today I will be going through gas exchange in humans, which is chapter 11 of our syllabus. So now in this chapter we will be talking about how we inhale and exhale our gases and how does our gases diffuse in our lungs. Okay, so to start off we will be looking at the features of gas exchange surface first thing. Okay, so we have 4 features, okay, to remember. So the first one is large surface area. So how do we have a large surface area? It's because of the presence of millions of alveoli in our lungs. So our alveoli basically, it is a structure where most of the gas exchange takes place. Okay? So when you have a lot of alveoli, you will have larger surface area, which will help us diffuse our gases more quickly and more efficiently. Now, next feature is the thin epithelium. Okay, so epithelium, one closest way of me describing it is like a skin, okay? So over here, in our gas exchange surface, we have a thin epithelium. Okay, so our thin epithelium would be something like this, okay? So, as it says, oops, sorry about that. Okay, as it is mentioned over here, it's a 2-cell layer. Okay, so your epithelium it's gonna be made of 2 cells, okay, which basically gives us very thin epithelium, which will give us a short distance for diffusion. And how does a short distance help? It helps in a way that if you have a shorter distance, it will take you much lesser time for your gas to diffuse. Okay, short distance gives you less time for diffusion, okay, which means your diffusion will happen more quicker, okay, and obviously more efficiently. Okay, so the next feature is good blood supply. So good blood supply helps us with steep diffusion gradient, and it helps with diffusion of oxygen. Okay, now how do we process this? How do we understand this? So now let's say you have alveoli. As I previously mentioned, alveoli is where the gas exchange takes place. Okay, so this is the structure of alveoli. All right, alveoli. Now around here you have a good amount of blood supply, okay, and in this blood supply you have high concentration of oxygen. Okay, now remember, the keyword over here is diffusion. Okay, the keyword over here is diffusion. In our previous chapters, we did learn that diffusion occurs from a high concentration of gas molecules to a low concentration. Okay, so meaning that your concentration will move from a high concentration to a low concentration. So if you have a lot of oxygen over here, okay, and less oxygen in your alveoli, what's going to happen is diffusion is going to take place, so your oxygen is going to move into your alveoli. Okay, so if you have higher amount of blood, okay, a good supply of blood, you will have good amount of oxygen in your blood, which will increase the concentration of oxygen in your blood, which will basically give you a steep diffusion gradient. Okay, now let's go into the next feature, which is ventilation. Okay, so it's the big difference in the concentration of the gas at 2 points. So it's basically related to the diffusion. Okay, it's related to that. Okay, so if you have a big difference in concentration, okay, you will have a higher gas exchange occurring. Okay, you will have a steeper diffusion gradient. Okay, and in this case it is also known as ventilation. So next is the structure. So over here we have alveoli. Okay, we have alveoli, which looks like a broccoli, I guess. That's the closest image I can think of. And then over here we have this part. Okay, I will show you in over here where this is located. So it's located over here. Okay, in this diagram they did not show you the larynx. Okay, so the larynx, it's like this, it's U-shaped. Okay, and over here you have your trachea. So trachea is also known as your windpipe. So this is where the air goes through, your oxygen and carbon dioxide goes through. All right, and this over here is your bronchus, which basically leads to your lungs. Okay, and over here you have cartilage. Now cartilage has a very good and specific function, which I will be going through later. Okay, and next you have a bronchiole. Okay, so this bronchiole basically connects you to an alveoli. Okay, so you will basically have an alveoli over here for gas exchange to occur. Okay, and over here you'll have oxygen or you'll have carbon dioxide. Okay, next over here, this chain-like structure, it is basically two things. So the white part is your ribs, and your shaded or red part is going to be your intercostal muscle. Now, one way to remember this is that the ribs, okay, since they are bones, and bones are usually white, okay, so the unshaded part will be your ribs, and the shaded part will just be your muscle, okay, your intercostal muscle, specifically that. And then next you have diaphragm, which basically looks like this, looks like a headband. Okay, so this is how it is like. It is very important for you to remember the structure and the features as well. Okay, and you have to remember how to spell them correctly, okay, because if you have wrong spelling, they will not accept your answer. Now over here in your diagram, you can refer, okay, if it helps. This is your trachea, okay, this is your right bronchus, and then this is your left bronchus, and this is your bronchiole over here. These branches are your bronchiole. Okay, over here you have diaphragm, which is under your lungs. And yeah, okay, so the next part to look into is the composition of inspired and expired air. So when we're inhaling, okay, we are inhaling three things. We're inhaling water vapor, we're inhaling oxygen, and we're inhaling carbon dioxide. So now over here, you don't really have to memorize the percentage or how much we inhale and exhale. The point right now, the reason I have percentages over here is to basically explain to you why it is like that. Now, what we're going to do first of all is we're going to compare inhaled and exhaled air, okay? We're going to compare these two. As you can see, you have water vapor here, which is variable, and then water vapor here, which is saturated. Now, saturated means you have a lot of it. Okay, you have a high quantity of it, high quantity. Okay, so variable means it kind of depends in situations. Okay, so when we're inhaling, okay, we are obviously gonna have less water vapor inhaled, okay, compared to when we're exhaling, okay, because for example, I think we've all done this. If you take a mirror or a window and you like exhale on it, you will get water vapor on it, okay. So that's one way of remembering it, that exhaled air, expired air, okay, has a higher quantity of water vapor, okay, it's more saturated. Now, next thing to compare is in inhaled air, okay, we have 21% concentration of oxygen, but in exhaled air, we have 16% oxygen exhaled, okay. Now, let's compare. Which one is more higher? Obviously, it's 21, okay? It has more oxygen, which means that when we're inspiring, when we're inhaling, okay, we're inhaling more oxygen, okay? And when we're exhaling, we have less oxygen concentration comparatively, okay? And next thing to look into is carbon dioxide, okay? So in inhaled air, we have 0.04%, and in exhaled air, we have 4%, okay, which means obviously 4% is higher, which gives us a conclusion that when we're inhaling, we're inhaling less carbon dioxide and we're exhaling more carbon dioxide, okay. Now, the reason why we're exhaling more carbon dioxide is because carbon dioxide is a waste product, okay. So after our body gives oxygen to all our organs, our body will release a waste product, which would be our carbon dioxide. This is why we have higher concentration of carbon dioxide when we're exhaling. So next, let's look into the breathing rate and exercise. Okay, so how is the breathing rate and exercise linked to each other? Now let's say we are working out. Let's say we're running on a treadmill. Okay, now when we're running, we would all notice that we are breathing more faster, more quicker. Now, has anyone ever wondered, like, why are we doing that? So over here, you'll learn why we're doing that. Okay, so when we're exercising, our depth of breathing increases. All right. Excuse me. So when we are working out or running, anything like that, our depth of breathing increases, okay? So that we can inhale more oxygen, because right now we're using up our energy, okay? We're using up our energy, so we need more oxygen so that we can respire more, okay? So for that, our breathing depth will increase, okay? Which will allow more oxygen to dissolve in blood, okay, so that we can supply it to our muscles, okay, so our muscles can continue and work, because in aerobic respiration you need oxygen, okay? If you don't have oxygen, if you lack oxygen, you will get an oxygen depth, which will make our muscles respire anaerobically. Now when that happens, okay, our body will release two chemicals, okay, in anaerobic respiration, our body will release two chemicals, okay? So the first would be carbon dioxide, and second would be lactic acid, okay? And this happens when there is oxygen depth. Okay, so when we're working out, when we're exercising, when we're running or swimming or anything like that, we are using a lot of oxygen, okay? And our muscles, okay, they have an oxygen depth, so they start respiring anaerobically using the glucose present in our body, okay? So it will release two waste products, which is carbon dioxide and lactic acid, okay? So let's look at number 2. Now, increased carbon dioxide concentration, again, due to anaerobic respiration. Okay, so increased carbon dioxide put into the blood by muscles is detected by the brain. So your brain will detect that, okay, and it will then instruct your intercostal muscles and diaphragm to contract and relax rapidly. In simple words, it will instruct our lungs, okay, our gas exchange system to work more quicker to overcome the oxygen depth, okay? So so this is how it is like. If you're wondering where the carbon dioxide come from, it came from anaerobic respiration, and we have to get rid of it because carbon dioxide is a waste product, okay? Waste product. Okay, I hope you understand so far. And next is the function of cartilage in trachea and bronchi. So just now I showed you this diagram over here, and I mentioned that I will tell you what cartilage does and how it works. Okay, so cartilage, the function of cartilage is one simple thing, is to stop them from collapsing when we're breathing in. Okay, now why does it function this way? What's the purpose of it? Okay, like why would our trachea and bronchi collapse if there is no cartilage? Now, basically, when we're inhaling or exhaling, we're doing it in a high pressure, okay? We're putting a good amount of pressure into our lungs. So if we don't have a support like cartilage, our trachea and bronchi will fall apart, okay? So this is why you need cartilage, okay? It's basically like a support, okay? It's like the backbone of trachea and bronchi. Okay, so next is what happens in our gas exchange system when we're inhaling. So the first thing that happens is your air pressure will drop, okay? And then your diaphragm will contract, your internal intercostal muscles will relax, and your external intercostal muscles will sorry, did I mention that wrong? I'll repeat again. Sorry. Internal intercostal muscles will relax, external intercostal muscles will contract. Okay, notice how it works oppositely. So when you're exhaling, your intercostal muscle will contract, and your external intercostal muscle will do the exact opposite, which is relax. Okay. And then next we have lungs will expand and the ribs will rise. One more thing I would like to add is that your volume in the lungs will increase. Okay, your volume in lungs will increase. Now, exhaling is the exact opposite. So if you memorize this part, okay, just remember that exhaling is opposite. So whatever this is, it's going to be the opposite of that. Okay, this part I would just recommend that you purely memorize it. And yeah, so next thing, last but not the least, is the protection of gas exchange system from pathogens. Now, oh, I'm sorry about that. Okay, so the pathogens are basically bacteria, for example. They're something that can cause harm to us, can cause us sickness in any kind of way. Okay, so how does our gas exchange system work in order to prevent us from getting sick? Okay, so first thing you should know is goblet cells. Now these goblet cells, they have a role of secreting mucus. Now what this mucus does is that this mucus traps the pathogen. Okay, it traps the pathogen. Now if you're wondering what mucus is basically, for example, when we sneeze and the goo that comes out of our nose, that's mucus. Okay, it is a sticky substance, okay, which basically traps pathogen. That's its main purpose. Okay, so the goblet cells will secrete mucus to trap pathogens. Okay, now the goblet cells are found in the epithelial lining of trachea and bronchi. So the bronchi and trachea have an epithelial lining, okay, which will obviously produce this to secrete mucus. Okay, next thing is ciliated cells. Now ciliated cells basically have this function of continually moving, okay, in a flicking motion to move mucus away from the lungs. Okay, so let's say I will go here. Let's say some sort of pathogen comes in, okay, and over here your epithelial lining of your trachea, okay, is producing mucus. This green substance here is a mucus, okay, and let's say this orange part is pathogen. Now it trapped pathogen. Now your trachea will have something like this, okay, which is basically your ciliated cells. Now they will flick and move your mucus upwards. Okay, it will move it here. This is your new position of your mucus, okay, and then slowly it will be moved out of your gas exchange system. Okay, so it just helps transport mucus away from your body, away from the lungs. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this chapter. It's quite short, but it is also quite easy. This part is basically the diffusion part that I explained in the beginning. So this is your alveoli. This is your blood supply, which you just inhaled. So you have higher concentration of oxygen here. You have lower concentration here and higher over here. So your oxygen will move out, okay? And since you have low concentration of carbon dioxide, high concentration over here and low over here, it's gonna move over here, okay? And it will be transported to your lungs. It will be transported out of your body, okay? You will exhale it from your lungs. So that's pretty much it for this chapter. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comment section. And if you're interested in tuition, online tuition, that you can email me, and my email is in my description box. Thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe if you liked it. and please don't be shy to give me more recommendations. Thank you. That's all for today. Bye.